welcome to the Movie Review Mom YouTube channel. If this is the first time you found me, yay, finally, you're here. And if you're a returning subscriber, yay, thank you so much for coming back. So my subscribers already know that my goal is to save you time and money by giving you the scoop on filmmaking quality and content so you can decide whether or not you want to spend time or money watching a particular film. So today, the movie I'm reviewing is called Monster Summer. This nostalgic Halloween-y thriller is now playing in theaters just in time for Halloween season. The film is rated PG-13, and I'll give you some tips for parents here in just a minute. It's an hour and 37 minutes, and my overall movie review mom grade is an A-. I thought it was really cute. So first I'm going to give you an overview in a nutshell where I'll point out things I liked, things I didn't like. I'll offer tips for parents, themes worth talking about if you watch this with your family, funny lines, interesting lines, and we'll finish up with recommendations for other films that are sort of similar that you might also really like. And maybe they flew under your radar and you never knew about them. All right, so let's dive in. In a nutshell, the story is about a boy named Noah. When a mysterious force begins to disrupt their big summer fun, Noah and his friends team up with a retired police detective to embark on a monstrous adventure to save their island. The film was directed by David Henry. Now, you might recognize his name from the popular TV show, How I Met Your Mother, which was such a cute TV show. Writing credits go to Brian Schultz and Cornelius Uliano, who also worked on the Peanuts movie back in 2015. And by the way, Brian Schultz is the actual grandson of the famous Charles Schultz, who was the famous creator of the Peanut comic strip. So quick tips for parents. There is some light profanity, no F-bombs, nothing vulgar or anything like that. It's not really a horror movie per se. It doesn't have blood and gore and all that kind of stuff. But it is kind of a scary, creepy, sort of creepy, but mostly a little spooky, I would say. There is some gun violence. And then overall, the movie is about protecting children from all kinds of monsters. Some are the make-believe monsters, and some are the child abductors who are monsters. There are people in dangerous situations, of course. And then we do see a creepy witch that might be too frightening for very young children. Some of the themes that are illustrated very well are friendship, trust, witches, of course, courage, power of the press, and child abduction. Now, onto the list of things that I really liked about this film. First of all, I do think it's pretty family friendly, and it will take you back, if you're an older audience member, take you back to your old summer adventures. It's scary enough for kids to get in the mood for Halloween season, but not too frightening like I mentioned before. What absolutely caught my attention for this movie is the presence of Mel Gibson on the movie poster. I've always been a fan of his, even though he had some rough years a while back. He seems to have pulled out of it and is widely received again. Now, this is not one of those movies where the big name actors phone it in for a couple of scenes to collect a paycheck. Gibson actually plays a huge role in the film, and I thought he did a terrific job. Only a few minutes into the film, and we get to see the hilarious Kevin James. Who doesn't love Kevin James? His character adds a unique spark to this story, as well as a very strong lesson in the power of the press and the importance of telling the truth. Now, unlike Mel Gibson, he really is only in just a handful of scenes, but I like him and it was super fun to see him. Otherwise, Lorraine Bracco plays a big role in the movie, as does Barbara Goodson, Patrick Renna, Lila Pate, and Gary Weeks, and they all give strong performances. The cast of young actors also does a really good job. It includes Mason Thames. Now, I don't know if his last name is pronounced Thames because it's spelled like the River Thames in England. So sorry, Mason, if I'm messing up your name. But he has a very bright future in film. He did a terrific job. We also get Julian Lerner, Abby James Witherspoon, and Noah Cottrell. The movie takes place in 1997 on Martha's Vineyard, specifically at Southport, at the beach town right there, utilizing hundreds of residents as extras in the movie. And I always love that when film crews do that and they utilize the locals. At the request of the film crew, the mayor of Southport, Joe Pat Hatem, who was the mayor at the time, gifted Mel Gibson the key to the city and named December 16th, 2023, Mel Gibson Day. How cool is that? Well, Gibson was surprised and he joked, the key to the city, does that open the bank? Which I thought was pretty funny. And I'm guessing it does not. The evidence board made me laugh in the movie because one of the things on my husband's bucket list is to make an evidence board. So whenever I see them in movies, I'm telling my husband, hey, look. Anyway, so there's a lot of mystery involved, which is a lot of fun, especially if your family or your kids really enjoy solving crimes and solving mysteries. The musical score by Frederick Wideman is lovely and kind of sounds like you just saw a Steven Spielberg movie, especially at the very end of the film. Beautiful cinematography by Larry Blanford, especially that last scene in the movie. I was like, that's a Steven Spielberg moment. Honestly, it was refreshing to have a film not be woke and not have a political agenda. It just felt like an old-fashioned good story movie, and I loved that. Act 3 offers a twist that might surprise you and reveals the villain, the real villain, or whoever the villain is. I don't want to give you any spoilers. And then, as I mentioned, that very last scene is really touching. I think the movie is all heart, it's adventure, it captures the spirit of youth and eagerness, as well as the jaded aging of people who are frustrated the way life has turned out and feel like their life is over and they don't have a purpose in life. And so I loved that combination. Things that I didn't like is a very small list. First of all, some of the dialogue is super cliched and predictable. As soon as somebody said something, I instantly said what I figured was going to be the next line. And sure enough, that was the line. I guess I've seen a lot of movies in my day, but so a lot of the lines weren't surprising to me. The villain has this long monologue that is instructive and helpful for the audience, but also super cliched. I had to stop myself because I almost said the gender of the villain, but I don't want you to know that. So when the villain started talking and explaining stuff, I remembered that line from the cute movie, The Incredibles, when they're like, the villain is monologuing, never monologue when you're the villain, because then the good guy will be able to take you over anyway. It just made me laugh. And then there are a couple of loose ends or loose threads that don't really go anywhere. Something happens and I was like, oh, this is going to do something. And then it just sort of didn't do anything with that anyway. So if that kind of stuff bothers you, you might be a little bit annoyed, but really that was all I could think of. Somebody mentioned the CGI, and I didn't think it was super noticeable. There is some, but again, I just didn't let it spoil the experience for me. Now, whenever I watch movies, I write down the funny lines and the interesting lines that I hear simply so I can share them with you, so you can get a taste for the script writing quality and dialogue. And I have them all in my written review at moviereviewmom.com, but I'll share some of them with you right now. So Mel Gibson plays this older retired cop, and the kids just sort of end up in his life in kind of a humorous way, but before he decides that he wants to actually solve this mystery as well, he's just trying to dismiss the kids and get rid of them. And he says, now, if you'll excuse me, I'll get back to retiring. But he's also he admits later on that, he feels sort of useless now that he's aging. And so anyway, I thought that was kind of cute. And then this one kid who's super intense and is trying to figure out the mystery and what's going on, Mel Gibson's character says to him, it's a joke. You need to loosen up, kid. And then another time, the kid comes to his house. And so Mel Gibson says, want a beer? And then immediately he goes, kidding. I'll get you a drink anyway, and he brings him a soda or whatever. And then there's this cute conversation between two of the other kids. And one of the other kids says his character's name is Eugene. He's played by Julian Lerner. And he says, I'm not really a good liar. So, and then his friend, who's played by Abby James Witherspoon, says, and you want to be a politician? And, that'll make parents laugh for sure. And then there were some interesting lines. One of them is Mel Gibson, and this is one of his quiet, reflecting moments where he says, talking to this young kid that he's really grown attached to, he says, your youth, it just disappears a little piece at a time. every heartbreak, every loss. Before you know it, you're just an old man. And it happens in a heartbeat, and if you're older, you're like, I know, I feel that too. There's another element of writing. So this young kid wants to be a journalist. His father was a journalist. And so he's trying to learn the craft, and everybody just dismisses him because he's just a kid. But Mel Gibson at one point says to him, writers could be heroes too, as they're talking about superheroes and the supernatural and all that kind of stuff. And I thought that was really sweet. Of course, that spoke to me because I'm an author of 31 books with another one coming out soon. You can learn all about my books on my Instagram. Well, you can learn about it in a lot of different places. You can Google me and find some of those types of sites, and you can learn about my books and my online courses and products and my shenanigans. But anyway, another really interesting line is when the boy, Noah, played by Mason Thames, says, my father always said he cared more about the people in the story than the story itself. And he learns that lesson because he wants to get the scoop. He wants to, have his article written in the newspaper. And that's Kevin James. He's the one in charge of the newspaper. He owns the newspaper and is very careful about what he releases in his town. And so Noah's trying to get the scoop, and then finally he realizes it's the people. And especially because these kids go missing and his friends go missing. And he realizes that the story isn't just a scoop, but it's about the people and their experiences. Anyway, I love that element of it as well. Now, immediately as I watch movies, I think of other films. And so I wanted to recommend three that I thought were kind of similar. One is The Goonies, because it's kids that age that are trying to solve a mystery, and there's a spooky element, and that's just such a classic. So if you haven't seen The Goonies, definitely check that out. And by the way, in the link down below in the description, I've got links that will take you to all of these films. Another one that I thought of is Goosebumps, just because it's scary. And my kids loved the Goosebumps books when they were younger, and I would read them with them, and I was like, this is scary stuff. And so this movie is scary, not great for little preschoolers, but for, older preteens and that kind of age group. And Goosebumps has all of that, and it's perfect for Halloween as well. And then another one I thought of is The Curse of Bridge Hollow. And again, it's a similar type of story where there's a mystery and some spooky, creepy stuff, but pretty family friendly. So anyway, check those out. And when you get a minute, check out all of the places where I am on social media. And I want to hear all about you. Let me know what you think is a good family friendly flick. And I've got another video coming up about some new stuff on Netflix that's also family friendly and perfect for Halloween in case you want to get in the mood. All right, have a fantastic day, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye for now.